All right, everyone. I am pumped up today. I'm so excited. Back with another episode of the MuuvWell podcast. And as you all, if you're an avid follower, a listener, you know that we moved. Well, there's two ways that we do these podcasts. We live stream these on Wednesdays, generally at 9:30 a.m. And then we release the audio versions every Monday at 6 a.m. That's our new structure, and it fits our schedule so well as we have kind of transitioned into this new office. And usually, if you watch, you know that it's myself, Wade, and Kevin. But this week, we're switching it up, and so generally once a month we'll have a guest. And this week is the month of having our guest for the month of February, and I'm honestly just so stinking grateful to one, have gotten to know this guy, and two, that he is coming onto the podcast. And we made our schedules work. You know,
Yeah.
I reached out and I was like, "Hey man, would you come on the podcast?" You're like, "Yeah, it'll have to be after 4:30 p.m." I was like, "I don't care. Let's make it happen." So, with all that being said, if you're watching live, I'm going to swap the camera over here. If you're listening, you already know, but have my man Max Geyer in the house, looking great on camera too, by the way. Suave, looking great. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah. I'm excited. And, Max and I always look at you as someone so similar to, I don't know if you know Tyler Kelly. He's a local runner here in Bowling
I've gotten
Green.
the pleasure of knowing it.
Yes. So Tyler, I feel like you and I were like on that path that I was with Tyler. You know, I did not know Tyler at all, knew nothing about him. And then all of a sudden we connected and I got to know him, and he's one of like the greatest people on this planet. Like, so nice. He's a father, he's a husband, and just so kind. And I think that what we'll get into today is like the power of running.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so powerful about it. And I feel, again, just grateful to have you here and be able to get to know you a little bit. We haven't got to connect a whole lot, mostly just through the Hot Rod Ultra, that you put down some pretty crazy mileage at and the amount of time you were in the race. So we'll get to that too.
Yeah.
But first, Max, man, I just, let's just talk. Nobody knows who Max Geyer is. Let's start there. Let's say that. What would you say to somebody? Just give us a little bit of a glimpse, like, who is Max Geyer?
Yeah, of course. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on here. This is really cool. I'm very grateful to be here. But yeah, what would I tell people about me? I'm gonna try to figure out the best way to kind of consolidate this, and I'll try to share what I think are the kind of the important key aspects, I guess, in my life. But starters, so I grew up in China, so I was not born in the States. I grew up in China, where I was born there, and when I was 3 years old, I was adopted. And some of the people who know me kind of know this, but it's not super well known. But I was actually born with a tethered spinal cord. And it was just this condition that affected my spinal cord, could have led to, complications in the future. And, I was very lucky, and my parents were, they were willing to take on that responsibility if they needed to. But it worked out. I was able to get surgery, and really since then haven't even really ever had to think about it. But yeah, so adopted when I was 3 years old. I was one of 5 children. So big family, and, 4 out of the 5 of us were adopted. So I came from a very diverse family too. So it was just a lot of, not only that, but we were homeschooled as well. So raised in a family very diverse. I have siblings from other parts of Asia, from Africa, and then one from here as well. But then also just in the homeschool environment, also just being surrounded by kids who were different ages, by a lot of adults as well. That's kind of like, I would feel like, is a pretty big aspect of just how I was raised. But I mean, let's see, and growing up too, I was a swimmer competitively, and that was kind of like the one sport I was involved with.
So did you swim in high school too?
I did,
Okay.
yeah. And the thing with swimming is like, I've always enjoyed like other sports too, but when you're a competitive swimmer, it's kind of like the only thing you can do, because you're training for like some days like 4 hours a day, and it's 6 days a week.
Yeah.
So that's like all I had time for, but I loved it. So, but yeah, I mean, that's my childhood. I mean, we can, I don't care to go into
I want to hear. So after, I think I do want to talk more about, I think we'll hit each part probably of your childhood as much as you're open to share, obviously. So after school, like before college.
Yeah.
You were a swimmer. That was your primary sport.
Mhm.
Um, what did the decision making look like going to college? And I always make the comment, like, I'm so glad that I was so naive when I was that young, because I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go to college here and do this," and then you pack up and you go.
Yeah.
Whereas now, it's like as you get older, those decisions don't feel, or bigger decisions
Yeah.
don't feel that easy, you know. So, what did it feel like, and what was the decision process? How did that look, deciding to go to whatever school you went
Mhm.
to swim, and how was
Yeah.
that transition from being at home and then moving to college?
Yeah, and I think I definitely agree with what you've said about, like, reflecting back on the kind of decisions like that. They seem so much bigger, and I also agree, like, I had that same kind of, like, um, I guess, smaller perspective when I was younger too, and I'm so grateful I did because
Oh,
it's
same.
and now
Yeah.
I'm like, I'd be so overwhelmed
Oh
with,
my
like, a
gosh.
decision like
Yeah.
that. Um But I think well, and first also, I didn't choose a university based on swimming. So, I swam in high school, but I really wasn't focused on swimming collegiately. My main focus in the schools were really I kind of wanted to get out of Bowling Green. That was part of it. But then also growing up faith has always been a very important aspect of my life. And so I namely looked at three different universities. One was our local university, Western, and then also Liberty University in
Yep.
Virginia, and then Harding University in Arkansas. And it just kind of happened, again, like this big decision, but just, little things kind of added up and finally like, led me to Harding in Arkansas. And that's
Mm.
where I ended up going. Some of the aspects that drew me there, of course, were it's a private university. So it's got a Christian environment, but also it's got a very talented group of professors and staff. So
Also, and what did you study whenever you were at Harding?
So I studied computer science, and then halfway through my undergrad, I added the theological studies major that they offered. Being a private school, like you kind of are required to go to like um, a set amount of Bible courses throughout
Okay.
your time there, and so like in my mind, I was kind of like, why not just tackle on another major? Because it would just have added on a couple more courses. And again, there were really great professors there, so lots of knowledge to be gained from them.
That's awesome. So kind of, um, and I think I think a lot of our talk is going to be the running stuff. So
Yeah.
we'll kind of save that, but backtracking a little bit, Max, um, talking about like your adoption story.
Yeah.
So obviously that shapes someone differently than someone that's born to a family biologically. So if you're as comfortable as you are
Yeah.
to share that experience, like what are like maybe the first memories of being adopted, and then I mean, you can just talk about like how do you feel that that shaped you, you
Yeah.
know? Because I think that your story is just, I mean, you as a person, you're just so genuine and amazing, you know? And I think that it's important for people to have perspective on an individual, especially seeing where they are now. I think it's easy for someone to say, oh, Max does this, or Logan does this, or has this, or whatever it might be. But I think it's important to kind of give some context to all of that. So,
Yeah.
speaking back to that, what was that like? And what are maybe your like earliest memories of that, as much as you want to share, obviously?
Yeah, I feel like, to be honest, I feel like really there's not too much to
Mm.
share about it. And that said, like it's not like
And maybe
I'm
that's good too. I
right,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, I don't
And
want it.
that's on kind of my point. Because the
Yeah,
thing is, it's
yeah,
not like I'm not an introspective person. Sometimes like I'm
yeah.
too much to like a fault. But like I think where the good part of it is, again, like I have three other siblings who are also adopted.
Right.
I was the third child that my parents had adopted. I have a younger brother who's also adopted, but and I say that because my parents, whether it was, what some point they kind of like figured out kind of like, I guess, how they wanted to go about, because a lot of this is how my parents decided to, to raise us and to how to emphasize our adoption, all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that said, like growing up, really, despite not looking like any of my siblings, despite um, not looking like my parents, I really and being 3.5 years old, which is for adoptees is pretty old,
Mhm.
um, but really like it was never something I thought of growing up, which I'm very grateful for. I think um, And I'll ask my parents, I'm like, "How did you guys do it? Like, how did you guys, you know?" And I've asked my siblings too, like my other siblings who are adopted. I was like, "Have you guys ever like struggled with, you know, or wrestled with identity in our family or just all this stuff?" And they're like, "No."
Gosh, dude, what a freaking what a testament to your parents,
No, but
though.
seriously, and I'll ask them
Holy
like, "How did you
cow.
guys do that?" And they're like, "I don't know." And really, they're like, you know, it was really a God thing, I think.
Mhm.
So very grateful for that. So, um, okay, yeah, kind of boring, but also I think there's a lot of to be grateful in that too.
Yeah. No, I think that is beautiful, and
Mhm,
it's I think a lot of times and my point to that was sometimes you just never know like
mhm,
what
yeah,
someone's story is, and so just being able to understand how you meshed with maybe being adopted
yeah,
and like you said, especially at an older age in terms of like adoptees. But what a testament to your parents, man.
yeah,
Like that is beautiful. The fact that you have grown up and like felt this way, and that's how it should be.
right,
I'll
yeah,
like making a point to that. But I just think that is awesome, you
yeah.
know?
And I mean, I feel like I need to say this too because I didn't get around to it, but like the reason why I don't think I or any of my siblings ever really thought or wrestled about it is because specifically the way my parents were able to, you know, raise us that way is because of the way they loved us, you know? It
Mm,
was so my oldest sibling, she is the only one out of us who is biologically descended from my
okay.
parents, right? But there was never ever any sense that she was preferred or that she, you know, that she had held any other status, even being the oldest, anything like that, above any of us. And so again, yeah, just the way our parents loved us and showed us that never allowed for any sort of
Mm,
doubt or um, you know, ill feelings about, you know, our adoption.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is how it should be.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what a
Ideally.
blessing.
Yeah.
And like you said,
Yeah.
it's a God thing, you know?
Hmm.
So kind of transitioning into the faith part of your life,
Hmm.
you know, you said, and you made a couple of comments already about your faith and it
Yeah.
being a God thing. At what point in your life do you really felt like that you were um, maybe called to your faith or when your faith journey began, essentially?
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool to hear about too.
No, definitely. Again, very fortunate to be just first of all, you know, adopted into a family, you know, that loves God and, you know, all that. And so, you know, grew up in the faith, but it wasn't until like 11 when I got baptized. And I think for a long time, you know, especially in college, I was like kind of wrestling with the idea of being baptized again, just because I kind of
Mm,
was like, you know, I've grown so much in my faith and understand it so much more fully, which now sounds so silly, right?
hmm
Um, but so I said because baptized when I was 11, I definitely think that, you know, I had reached a point where my faith had become my own, but it was still kind of a naive faith. And it wasn't until in my when I was probably around 14 or 15 that I kind of started to just what it was for me that started to click was I was starting to learn more things, details about my adoption as well. It wasn't that my parents had like kept things from me, but it was more of just like, you know, you naturally learn things and I was asking more questions because again, younger, I didn't really care. And so like going back to like the back surgery thing, that was something that like I didn't understand the severity of like what that condition could have led to and just the financial and you know, all of the kind of repercussions like something like that could have had, right? If surgery hadn't gone well. Things like that, things like I think this is a cool fact. Things like how, you know, just the circumstances of my adoption and how being a boy in China when in Asia, you know, boys are preferred, but and you could only have one child at that time. And so if there was a boy in an orphanage, it was typically because they had something wrong with them. So like cleft palate or a spinal injury or autism, whatever it could be, you know. And, you know, just kind of understanding and like 3.5 years old is an old age to be adopted because, you know, people want babies, you know, when they're adopting and stuff typically. And just realizing, man, like my parents were aware that I had this condition that could have left them babysitting, you know, someone for the rest of their lives. But they were willing to take that on because the, you know, the love that God had put in their hearts that they wanted to, you know, pour into me. And just, you know, realizing that and appreciating it and then just being unable to deny that that was God again, just working in those moments. I think that that really hit me, around the time I was in my teen years. And it's just, continued that understanding and just appreciation and just seeing more of those kind of moments. It just continues to this day. Um, so I think that my testimony is kind of my faith testimony is kind of backwards because it's kind of boring most of it, but right in the beginning of my adoption, that's where that kind of the bulk of it lies in retrospect. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was literally, you took the words out of my mouth. I think a lot of our faith testimony is in retrospect. You just don't realize how God's working in your life in that moment a lot of
Right.
times.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that, and I'm similar to you, I grew up Catholic, up until I was about like 9 or 10, I was in the Catholic church and I was baptized. I was baptized again December 2 years ago in December,
Okay.
and joined church. And it was about a year before that. I would say honestly, then is whenever I became a Christian. And it's funny, a lot of experiences that I've had are things that good that have happened to me, and including bad, but things that I've in retrospect seen now, I'm like, that wasn't just like luck of the draw,
Right.
like
Yeah.
that was God working in my life. And so I feel you in that state of like, sometimes it's easy to just like have a good moment and be like, oh man, that was cool, that was
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
but then like not be able to praise God for it. And so, and I think we shouldn't feel guilty about that. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
cool that it's like your story is a part of your faith journey, but maybe you don't always see it happening as it's happening,
Right. Yeah.
which is really cool. So I love that, man. I think that's great. So you feel that like maybe around the time of college is whenever you started to really experience that, like your faith journey, and were there any like resources you feel that like contributed to that in terms of like the school you went to or people?
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit before college is when, things started clicking. But then, of course, just all growing up, I, not only had, this amazing loving family, but I, say what you want to say about homeschoolers, but I had a great community of
Kevin's gonna love listening to this. Kevin is gonna
Right, yeah.
love this.
He gets
Yeah.
it. He gets
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
This will make him feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really did have a great community.
Mm.
Just even there, like a lot of my friends that were in the homeschool community also just happened to go to church with, and so just within my family and then just my church community, which also bled into my school community, which there was a school community.
Yeah.
um
I think that's a common misconception.
right, yeah,
I think so.
But yeah, I think all of those all were pillars in building up my faith and just seeing Christ in individuals. um and then in college, again, part of the reason I wanted to go to Christian university is because of the resources there to grow your faith. You've got a staff who are all believers. And, I studied computer science, the furthest thing from Bible, right? But, I had professors starting class with prayers and just the way that they cared about the students individually. And then on top of that, the Bible classes I took. And then when I, when the theological studies route, lots of resources in college to just, again, further enrich in my understanding and appreciation for God and just, strengthen again more of my faith.
So kind of like just really like a slow build, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that really my faith has never been something I've strongly struggled with. And I don't know if that means like it's going to come later or if that's an okay thing. But it's always been there. And I don't think like the slow burn is necessarily, a bad thing. I used to think, oh man, like, is it wrong that there wasn't something big and dramatic that,
Right.
made the shift?
Yeah.
But I think I'm learning more and more to, just to appreciate, no, it's okay. It's in the small, slow things, where you can find it because it's still there and it's just as important.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point too, is since becoming a Christian just like 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I've kind of felt that because I wouldn't say I had like a aha moment necessarily. I mean, I did, but there wasn't like an event in my life that made me like, okay, I've got to find God.
Yeah.
I think it was a build. It was a slow burn for me.
Mhm.
And then one day it all kind of clicked for me.
Yeah.
So I think, I've shared my perspective over and over and over on this podcast.
Yeah.
And I think you and Kevin on our team share similar ish stories in terms of like your faith. It's been for most of your life, and
Yeah.
it's almost like it's like a daily practice. And now that
Mhm.
I'm here, like where I'm at,
Yeah.
I feel that. I'm like, I know that some days it's like, okay, it almost feels like a task, but you know that it's a relationship.
Yeah.
So what have you found from like a faith perspective? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here.
No, yeah.
Like from a
You're
faith
good.
perspective, are there any things that you do that are almost like a non-negotiable, or like some faith practices that you try to do each week, just something to be consistent with that might help you kind of hold on to that? Is there anything that you do?
Um, I think it is. I will say it has been. This is a work in progress because part of the whole like growing up in it your entire life is it feels like it can kind of what's the word? How do I put this? Um, it's easy to believe that you've already got something to do that because it's just been in the background. But you're
Mm,
right. Like something I'm working on is specific things to kind of focus my heart and mind in faith on the daily. And I think one of those things is just first of all, um, before I leave my apartment or something, I try to really set my mind on like how can I you know glorify God through whatever interaction I'm about to have, or how can I just have a mindset that invites the opportunities that I know God is throwing my way when I walk out that door, whether it's with people or whether it's with, just random moments or interactions. But just having that mindset of being prepared, I think, to take on what God throws at you.
mm.
Yeah.
One thing that I really struggled with, and I'm sure a lot of people do, is um, when you think about being a Christian, a lot of times it's like, well, do you read your Bible for 2 hours a day?
Yeah.
Do you give this much to your church? It's like what I've come to figure out from my perspective. Of course, some people are gonna have different takes, but like just be a good person and just
Yeah.
love people, And I think it can be overcomplicated. And I think like the way you answer that, I was like, I feel that.
Yeah.
Like,
I was trying not to think of
yeah,
just the
and it's
basic.
like
Yeah.
actual like, oh, I read my Bible for an hour every day,
Yeah.
and that's great. I would love to make the time to do that every day. I
Yeah.
would feel much better, I know, if I did.
Mhm.
But I think a lot of times it's easy for us to overcomplicate it. And I say us as in me, I do. It's like, man, I just need to walk out the door and be a loving human
Yeah.
and not get so ticked off at the little things, and just love other people and show that. And a lot of times those are the little people always talk about. Um, there was like a seed that was planted in me. Like this person planted a seed in my
Yeah.
faith journey, and then maybe 2 years later they've become a Christian or whatever. And I think
Yeah.
that's the big part of it too, is just walk out the door and just like maybe before you do, just be intentional.
Mhm.
And just be like, man, I just want to love another human today, and
Yeah.
be nice and show them grace or whatever it might be. So
Right.
I think
And
that's a big part of it.
yeah, and to add on to that, actually, I think one of the reasons why that is what and I don't know if I even explained it that well, but one of the reasons why I lean towards that, especially right now, is because an idea that's been on my mind a lot is just, the fact that we are not, we are called to, as Christians, to be a light and to serve others and minister, but we are not guaranteed that we're ever going to see the fruits of that labor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I like how you said, like you plant the seed here, and then maybe 2 years down the road, something sprouts from it, but like you
don't
probably aren't
know.
going to be there 2 years later to see that happen. So like, like you said, like you just being prepared to show God's kindness and to be serving in that way, even when, it's uncomfortable and stuff. And even when it doesn't seem rewarding, even in the moment when you do it, because you never know, like maybe that really will impact somebody in the future. And it's not, it doesn't matter. You don't need to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always like you would like to see it, and then if you do ever see it to come to fruition, if you get to,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, this is great. But there's so many times where, and I know there were people, probably you and I both, I mean, we both, everybody you experience, just know like at some point somebody is praying for you in some capacity,
Mhm.
whether it's for you to come to your faith and accept Christ as your Lord and Savior, or maybe they're just saying, you know, I want Max to find peace or Logan to find comfort, whatever it might be. And I've always kind of thought that too. I was like, you know, if I could just like let somebody know I'm praying for them, like I feel
Yeah.
like that's, if someone is looking for like a task, to me that's always like, just pray for somebody. And like,
Yeah.
if you run into them, be like, man, I've been praying for you. It's so good to see you, or whatever it might be, or text them,
Mhm.
whatever. But no, I agree. It's like sometimes you do things, and I think our pride, I mean, one thing to give, I think make people maybe feel better too. And especially for me is one thing I've had to work with is like knowing we're all made human and we have free will. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's normal to feel prideful sometimes and to feel your ego get in the way and feel an expectation to get XYZ in return, whatever it is. Like, that's a normal human feeling,
Yeah.
you know? But I think being able to just be intentional and sit and be like, I'm just going to go out and be kind to somebody, or I'm going to pray for somebody real quick before I go out the door, or pray for somebody today, or whatever it might be. And then removing the expectation of having something in return.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's
Mhm.
really hard to have that. And I think as you, speaking from my perspective, like as I have progressed, you know, in my faith journey, I'm starting to understand that more. And I think just uh, it's really important to surround yourself with people
Yeah.
that align with you, that have more knowledge than you when it comes to whatever it is you want to progress in, like for,
Yeah.
you know, specifically speaking faith. And that kind of pushes us on to this will lead us into our running stories
Yeah.
here. Yeah. Talking about that. But I know Max and I, we've connected more recently because we're both in a running group.
Mhm.
We call it Dude Run Club. And so it's just for dudes. And
I didn't know that was the official name. I thought that was
yeah,
just the group
no,
chat.
Dude Run Club. Well, it's funny. We started it. So there's like 10 or 11 of us in the group
Yeah.
now officially, which is pretty cool.
It's blowing up.
So initially myself and Tyler Lindsay at Crossland, leads worship at Crossland, he and I had kind of had like conversations about starting a run club. And so we were talking, and we started it in our first ever day. It's probably been, gosh, like 7 or 8 months ago now. It was me,
Wow.
Tyler, Nick Lawson, and then Heath Holloman. I think it was us four. And we started it. And our goal for that was to just like build community. And we just want to attract people that are going to have the same values as us and just have the same mindset as us.
Yeah.
So I think it's been nice through that. I've really understood even more. And I already knew this, but like practicing this is so powerful, to just surround yourself with people that are like-minded
Yeah.
and that have the same values as you. So when it comes to like community, not even just faith, but just in general, as we transition to running, how has like community and surrounding yourself with people that have the same values or like-minded as you, how has that impacted you in the last couple of years?
Oh, it's hugely impacted me because especially, post grad life too, you know, having to completely, rebuild your community too after college. Um, man, I'm how not to sound like basic. Community is important.
It is
I
though,
think
yeah.
especially like in the like-minded aspects, especially with faith, like-mindedness is so important. I think a lot of growth comes from being around people who have different ideas and
Mm-hmm.
people you can disagree with and have, really productive conversations. But with faith specifically, I do agree. Like, if you want encouragement and, fellowship, yeah, people who have the same, you know, faith as you, that is really important. And so, so I'm from Bowling Green. I went to school in Arkansas, then I moved back. And I've been really fortunate because a lot of my community since moving back is new, and it's doesn't look the way it did before. And I think it's kind of funny. Like, obviously, like I'm really into running. I work in cybersecurity, like interests, right? A lot of my friends today, a lot of my community have completely separate interests, very different people, very different, you know, introverted, all this stuff, right? But what makes that community so tight is because we have a shared faith,
Mm-hmm.
um and I'll even argue, even within that shared faith, there are differences, but that makes it even a richer relationship because those are still people who I respect and they respect me, and we can have really cool, deep conversations about those differences in our views and faith. And sometimes, I learn something. A lot of times, I'm learning
Yeah,
something
yeah.
new. But real, what keeps us together though is that like mindedness. Yeah,
Of the running aspect, and I think that's what I was kind of trying to allude to was like just having a community, like you're like-minded in the way of I don't care if you challenge me,
yeah,
and I hope you don't care if I challenge you,
right,
type of thing. But we both love this one thing, and we both love, and I think in this case, it's running a lot of times, like moving your body
yeah,
and doing things that are physically active, and
yeah.
then you just naturally have those conversations when you're out on the pavement or out on the trail, whatever it
Okay,
might
yeah,
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
I
laughing
feel like
because
you have a story or something here about it, Sarah.
no, I'm
What's
laughing because you asked about community, and I started going off about you were
oh
talking about
no
running. You were talking about like running
no
community.
just in general, like community in general. It doesn't have to be just running. I know our minds, Max.
My running community in
Our
Bowling Green is very
minds.
lonely though. That's the thing. No, I've had no the running community and running too is amazing, and
Mm,
I've met and in Bowling Green. Maybe you put it this way. Someone put it to me this way, and it's so true. Like Bowling Green doesn't have a lot, just like have a lot of runners, but the runners that it does have are like serious
oh
runners,
yeah, yeah, and
Um,
amazing. Yeah,
and I think that's so true. And that said, like yeah, like um, I've started joining the Dude Run Club. Wait,
yeah.
what's the name again?
Dude, run club,
Dude Run
baby.
Club.
Come
Yeah, I've
on
started
now.
doing that, which is great.
Yeah.
But outside of that, a lot of my training is by myself.
Hmm.
But that said, like I've still met so many cool people who just movement in general, just any type of, running or fitness. I've met really cool people through that. And as far as, yeah, like just having that understanding that this person gets what it takes to, wake up at 5 a.m. and do this, you know, exhausting activity before your
Hmm.
job starts and all that stuff. I think that there's a lot of unity in that. Um, and yeah, I'm grateful for the people that I've gotten to meet here locally,
Hmm.
through that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think it's huge to be able to just find people again in or outside of fitness, whatever it is, just
Yeah.
in general, having a community that that you can kind of align with. So, kind of moving into the running
Yeah.
aspect now, I want to know because I genuinely do not know how did that start.
Yeah.
I will say I know a guy who he lives in Austin, Texas. He's a former swimmer, and I think I always have the perspective and I assume that's true, that like swimmers just already have a good endurance
Mhm.
built.
Mhm.
And so the transition to running, maybe not necessarily easier, but maybe it's a smoother transition than it
Yeah.
would be from someone who's never run before. So how did the running journey start? Like was there like a certain moment? Was there a certain race? Like and then kind of just walk me through like whatever it feels
Yeah.
like you want to talk about. I want to hear it.
Yeah. I just definitely swimming helps. But so like I said, I swam competitively all through, middle school, high school, all of that. And then wasn't really focused on it in college. But then I did end up swimming in college for like a year and a half with the club team there, small team, whatever. But how I got into running though was the school I go to or went to was like 2 hours away from Memphis, Tennessee. And so, every year, St. Jude hosts their marathon weekend in Memphis. And there's always a large group of students from Harding, that was the university I went to, that would go and, run that weekend. And so I think it was my sophomore year. I was friends with people who were doing it. And it was kind of just like, hey, you want to go do this, this half marathon? Um, I had not, I had not run before that. But and it was more of like a social opportunity. Yeah, hang out with friends. This is
Right.
kind of a fun week and whatnot. Um, and that's kind of how it was for like through college. Was like for a month, that's trained for this marathon or this half marathon, run the half, and then not think about running again. It's kind of funny. The first half I trained for it in like Walmart shoes because I like
That's
you're a
funny. Yeah.
broke college
Yeah.
student and the only stores we have in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, where we were was like Walmart.
Home of
So
Walmart.
I
Yeah.
got I had these. They didn't even have laces. They were slip on
No
tennis
way.
shoes, and they were $10.
That is crazy.
And that's what I trained in. And then like it was over. And then like 2 weeks before the race, as like an early Christmas present or something, my parents got me like an actual pair of running shoes.
Mm-hmm.
My time went down like 30 seconds per mile. I
bet it was a freaking insane change. Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't believe the difference it made. But that's kind of just a funny story.
That's funny.
But anyway, so yeah, in college, I kind of got a taste of running in that way, but it wasn't serious. Again, in my mind, it wasn't serious.
Compared to now, yeah.
Especially compared to now. And again, like I was running in Walmart shoes. I until like a year ago, I knew nothing really about running. But then, I graduated, and then this was December of 24, I guess. I graduated that whole summer, been out of college, and I decided to do the half marathon in Memphis again. And again, it was like, this will be an opportunity to see a lot of my friends who, are also going to be doing it.
Not in the Walmart shoes?
Not in Walmart shoes this time, but
good.
still the shoes I had from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
so again, like, yeah. Just just no idea what I was doing. I was just there for fun.
Yeah.
And again, it was like I trained for like a month before it, did it, and
got to see your friends.
Got to see my friends. And this is so funny. They're I don't know if they'll remember, but like if they did, they would be able to quote me saying at the end of that race, "That was fun, but like no desire to do a full, like no desire." Because that's what I was saying. But a couple weeks after I'd done that, one of the guys that I had become friends with in Bowling Green, he had also run the race, and he like I guess we were talking about something. He had like heard the time I ran. I think I ran like a 124 or something, and he was like, "Dude, you need to like get into running."
Yeah.
Because I had just been like, I ran like a 124, like whatever.
You have no idea what that even means, but that's really good.
And he was like, "And how long did you train for?" Like all this stuff. And I was like, anyway, so he was like, "You need to like get into running seriously," because he himself, like, he was a really, he is a really great runner. Do you know Nick Winquist?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So person, I think Kevin's really
Kevin coaches with him, like for their homeschool team. Right. Yeah.
So it was Nick, and man, like, and he just hyped me up really. And so he had already signed up for the Eugene Marathon, which was going to be that following April. So all the way across the country in Oregon. He had ran it before, and he was just like, "Max, this is, it's a great course. It's super fast. It's, it's just historically, it's a very cool race, and also just great energy." And he's like, "I think you need to like run the full with me." And he was like, "I'm going to try to BQ. I think you need to try BQ as well." And I also, again, it was kind of stupid because I didn't understand what a BQ meant either. I was like, okay, yeah. Like, you know what?
Sure, let's do it.
So yeah, that it really was that. I was just kind of like,
the significance of it. You're saying like how,
I was just kind of like, sure, why not? This could be a fun thing. And so it was, and that was in like end of December that he kind of like recruited me for that. And so, I literally used ChatGPT to write my training plan. I gave it like my weight, my height, any like sort of statistics that I felt were relevant. And was like, okay, build me, a 4-month training block, which also I didn't know that 4-month training blocks were like the standard. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it was through that training that I was like, this is fun. There was also you have to actually work a lot harder, for this.
Yeah.
But I was like, I started to really, actually enjoy running just for running, not just for the, seeing friends at the race, whatever. And I mean, yeah, then the Eugene Marathon happened, and it was amazing. And I really got a taste for, the thing is in the Memphis Marathon, it's a type of race where like, it's a great fundraiser, right? And so, you've got athletes of all, levels there running that. Eugene's different because it's, people go there to BQ. So it was just a different type of energy because there were a lot more, competitive racers, I guess I would say.
More elite runners.
Yeah.
Basically.
At Eugene. And so like that, I could feel the difference in the energy, and it was amazing. Right. And yeah, and then that race just went amazing, and it felt great, and met so many cool people there. And I think that cemented, like, not only do I just enjoy the activity of running, but I love this community that is all over it too.
Oh, yeah. Man, I love that. Like that first race is always the first race that like means something, or where you can feel the energy shift. like, I feel like that was probably Eugene for you. Like, I
Yeah.
feel that where it's like, you run your first race and you do it. And I feel like from my first race I ever had done, it was a half marathon, the Bowling Green half.
Yeah.
And I did it. I ran my mother-in-law and it was a really fun race. But then I signed up for the full marathon that was the next year, but that was COVID. So I ran it virtually. But then I signed up for, yeah, so that sucked. That totally
Yeah,
sucked,
that's
dude.
crazy.
So I didn't feel anything there.
Uh-huh.
just crap. Felt
I
like
can't believe you
crap.
did it.
Oh gosh, dude, it was insane. But then I ran my first ultra. It was a 50K
Mhm.
and it was a trail race. And I remember towing the line at that race.
Yeah.
And I crashed and burned. I mean, I finished the race, but I blew up at like mile 18 or something. And but I remember towing the line, taking off, and having so much adrenaline and being like,
Yeah.
"This feels different."
Yeah.
And I think that is whenever it clicks for people. If you give running the space and the time, and you stick with it, you're going to find it. Maybe it's not your first race; it may not be, but you're going to find that race where you're like, "Okay, this feels different." Even if it's just, it doesn't have to be like everybody, but maybe it's just you. Like you're like, "Ooh, I feel different." Like this one makes me feel different. It scares me.
Yeah.
It gives me cold chills and goosebumps, or gets my adrenaline really pumping up. Like I'm scared, but in a good way.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think being able to give running the time to get you to that point is what's important. So after you ran Eugene, what did running feel like for you after that? And what has the journey looked like since then? Because that was, you said December of 2024. Is that when was it?
It was April 2025.
April
was
25.
since
Okay.
Eugene,
December 24 was okay. So after you ran Eugene and you obviously that triggered something in you and you felt something different. Like what has it felt like since then? Obviously it's changed your life in a lot of ways from like a social media perspective, and we'll get to that. But yeah, how did it change you? Like what did the feeling when it came to running feel like after that?
I think part of it was like I said, the community there and the energy it's addicting, and like that, like you said, the nerves you feel before, and then just the feeling on the course. But also like kind of realizing, oh, this is something like I could be good at too. It always been just such a sure, I'll do it, why not? Like, not take it seriously, kind of thing. And then realizing, oh no, like it being surrounded by again, like all those, really passionate athletes out there, and being among them, I was like, this is something that, I want to be a part of this as well, this more competitive side of it. And I think the next thing for me was like finding the next race, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, what's the next thing to work towards?
Always.
I think that is one thing I'm trying to work on now, is just enjoying running for the sake of just being out on the road, and not necessarily needing something to like a race or whatever to work towards. But I mean, yeah, it's just it's still new. It's still new.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I say, yeah, it's been like not even a year.
Not even a year. Yeah. So I'm starting to ramble. Hold on. Say your question one more time.
Just like after Eugene, like what has running become? Like what's the feeling it gives you now? And like
okay.
Almost like what are your goals with it? Like and you can ramble. I do it all the time.
No, I can't. You can't say it, because I have been rambling too this entire time. So you can always
no, you're good.
Me.
Go for
I
it.
need that.
I want to hear it. People want to hear it, man.
I don't. Oh, all right. Everybody listening,
let it rip.
Stop saying that. Okay. All right. Now I think I've ran several marathons since Eugene now as well, and now that kind of that itch has been scratched a little bit more. I think for me now, and even before that, I'm turning it into an opportunity for me, running into an opportunity for me to, I don't know, in a way, kind of I think worship, just through the activity, just through using my body the way God
being
designed
grateful for it,
and being grateful for it, and taking care of it. With running competitively, there are other health aspects where you've got to eat right and you've got to sleep right, and all these things, and I'm trying to have that mindset of like, why am I doing it? Because if I was just doing this for racing, I think I'd be burnt out, immediately.
Yeah.
But now I see it as, no, this is a way for me to, take care of my body. My body is a temple, and this is a way that I am honoring that. So I think that gives it purpose.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like, and I've experienced it, it grows as you go.
Mhm.
You know, when I first started, it was very much like, how fast can I run? How fast can I do this? How far can I go? And now I'm 100% with you. It's like, it's a way for me to like build me as a human.
Yeah.
And because being able to run however many miles it is you want to run, well, I have to put the right things in my body.
Yeah.
I have to sleep adequately. I have to do XYZ. So I think I see what you're saying. Like it translates. And then, but also in the midst of it all, you know, I just did Tunnel Hill 100 in November, and I don't know how many times during the race I just like could feel myself getting choked up because I'm just like, God, I'm just grateful,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like, oh my goodness, like you just, I don't know, when you can really channel your faith and worship during running, if, you know, if you're a Christian, especially, it's like, it just makes it much more powerful.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see. And I think this is probably, people can probably relate to what you were just saying about it. It evolves, you know,
Yeah.
you just did it because you want to hang out with your friends and just want to see how fast you can run. You don't really care that much. Then you start taking it serious, and then you're like, now I want to run fast. And then you're like, I want to run fast, but also I want to feel better, and I want to be able to channel my faith better and worship God while I'm running. You know, it's, I don't know, it goes a lot further than just how fast you're running and how far you're running.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a testament to anybody, or I think people could agree that that's a testament to anyone that sticks with running for a long time.
Yeah.
But what I'm interested to hear now, Max, is like, you started running in December of 24, right? You said that's when you started, around that time.
Yeah.
And then now you like superstar on Instagram, baby, superstar. But random side fact, I don't even know if I've ever told you this, but I've noticed it just from your Instagram post, but I used to live in the same apartment complex that
Oh, really?
I don't know if we've talked about that before.
I can't remember either.
But I was across the street from where you are, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, but I was in the same buildings, like the same complex. So I love those apartments, man.
Yeah.
That was the last place that I lived before my wife and I bought our house.
Yeah.
So we always joke and say, man, if we could have bought that and stayed there forever, we would have. I love it over there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I say that because a lot of your videos always start the same way. Stand in your living room, slap your shoe, come on me with a 6 mile run. So if you guys aren't following Max on Instagram, which most of you listening probably are, but you definitely got to follow him. Great content. But how did that kind of come about? Like, was that an intentional access? I mean, not that you, and I'm sure you don't really care that much, but what's your following on like Instagram, specifically that platform right now?
On Instagram, and I know because because it just hit it, but I think it's at 30,000. Right
Okay,
now, so
which is awesome.
It's crazy.
That's nuts, man. I'm sure that feels surreal.
Yeah, it really does.
So was that? I guess my question is, was that intentional? Like, or if not, what did that path look like to get to that point? Like, what started it? And if it was just consistency, then that's it. But what did that look like?
I think it started because I guess, at Eugene.
Okay.
Again, I don't know if tell me if you disagree with this, but I feel like running and doing content kind of goes hand in hand in a way. Almost, I feel like
I'm doing it. I'm gonna record it.
Yeah. I feel like so many people I know who run are also like recording their posting their progress and stuff. And so it was, at the end of that race, again, I met so many amazing people there. And some of the people I had met before the race, they saw me afterwards and they're like, dude, we saw your time. And they're like, you need to you should start like posting your training and stuff. And they're like, because they really
encouraging you.
They encouraged me to do it. And then, I've always had hobbies on the creative side of things. And so, I was like, oh, this could be a great way to, express that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and I really I can be very obsessive over things, like very hyper focused and stuff in an unhealthy way. And so with putting content on social media, I'm not going to lie and say I'm aware of oh, there's potential to blow up or the not and stuff like that. I was just like, I'm gonna ignore all of that and just just do it because it's fun and not paying attention to any of that. And so I mean, yeah, I made my fun little videos. I kind
Mm.
of I kind of just like, I put up the mental wall of like,
Yeah.
you can't be self-conscious about this. You just, put it out there, whatever.
Yeah, which is hard.
Yeah, I mean, yes, yeah, it is. And I mean, yeah, it's kind of boring. That's just how it happened. Yeah,
Yeah, and
did
then
that,
after
and
that
I mean, when you're training every day, you can't really run out of content.
mhm.
So, um, I just kept at it. I think I missed a whole month of posting anything because I was just like, not feeling it.
Yeah,
And then out of nowhere, I think one of the videos blew up, and from there, it's just kind of been like
yeah.
steady, steady, steady.
So for someone that, and obviously it was sounds like it was somewhat intentional of
Mhm.
you to, like, be consistent in posting, but you're
Yeah,
like, "I'm gonna remove the expectations of I'm gonna get 50,000 followers this month."
right.
Like, what would you say to someone that maybe that is what they want, you
Yeah,
know? Like, I mean, from your experience, I think it sounds like just post, but,
yeah,
like, any advice in that area? I know it's very
yeah.
broad and it's
No, no, yeah,
it's
you're
easy
fine.
to say, "Do this, this, and this," but it doesn't always look that way, you
No,
know?
yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, well, yeah, my thing was always, you know, I yeah, consistency is important, I guess. And especially in the beginning, though, I told myself like, just post when you want to post
Mm,
when you've got the time to do it. Because I have a full time job, and again, I didn't want this to be another thing that could make me, burn me out on running. This feeling I needed to fulfill this expectation of posting every day of running or something like that. But now that I've grown more and I'm just learning more about just making content in that space in general, I do think that, like, consistency is important, but my advice would just be, because I'll see videos all the time. They're just like, just post every day. It doesn't matter what you post. Like, just
yeah.
make a video and post it. And man, there's so many elements to it. Like TikTok, that might work better.
Mhm.
Instagram's a
Yeah.
different thing. And also, like, my TikTok sucks. Instagram has grown a lot more. I don't understand the TikTok algorithm. But I think that there's an equal balance of, yes, post, but then also, yeah, like, definitely, there are things you can do to, like, tools you can use that can make your content perform better. So, like, I definitely, experiment with different hooks with, like you said, I've kind of got my, like, rhythm going right now. I've kind of
Yeah.
got my, like, thing that I
I
do.
love it, yeah.
Um, but yeah, finding that and experimenting and putting yourself in, and this is more like the business mindset of it, putting yourself in the consumer's place and thinking like
Mm.
what would make them want to keep watching this.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing with creating content, especially, is like, I think, is giving value. Like, there's a lot of people who are successful creators, and it's just brain rot content, right? But I think that, I don't know. I think if you're going to do content, my advice is to make sure that you're giving value,
Mm.
some sort of value and substance to your audience. Whether that's, giving them motivation for their marathon training or life advice, things like that. Um, yeah.
So everything that you do right now, um, you do everything yourself then, right? Like,
Mhm.
okay. So how did 'cause I think people just find this interesting is why I'm asking, and I do too. I've had, like, very small, like, affiliations in some capacity, like,
Okay.
on, like, social media with, like, certain brands and, like, some
Yeah.
one-off
Yeah.
type of things, but in terms of, like, partnerships, like,
Mhm.
how did the ones that who are you currently affiliated with, if you wanna share that too? But,
Uh-huh.
like, how did that come about? Was that, like, a pretty organic thing? 'Cause I think people honestly, a lot of times people automatically associate, "I'm gonna start posting on social media, and I'm gonna make all this money and make all these like, get all these brand
Yeah.
deals."
Yeah.
Like, how has that happened organically for you? Because I imagine that's probably how it has come about, but I'd
Yeah.
love to hear about that too.
It was, yeah, honestly, I don't know.
Mm,
A lot of it was organic. I think the term, like, they use in the marketing social media world is like inbound. Like, a lot of them were inbound
mm,
opportunities. A brand would just, like, DM me asking me if I wanted to try something, and then it would turn into, an affiliate program or something like that. Um, and so yeah, I've just been, I think, I really, what I really think is the only reason my social media has succeeded, the only reason, yeah, is, I think, is because God wants me to use it for Him.
mm.
and to use my influence for him, because there running social media is so oversaturated, and there are people who way faster than I am, or who have way better production quality, all this stuff. And so when it comes down to it, I'm like, why would people watch my stuff and then follow me to see more of it? I really think it is, again, and just another act of God's will,
Mhm.
and something to further along His plan.
Yeah, I think, gosh, dude, that is so wise too. To be able to have that perspective is so wise, and I think it's easy for people. And I mean, I had done it a lot, especially before I had my daughter. I was so caught up in like, what video could I make that could get a lot of views, that
Mhm.
could get me a lot more followers, whatever it is. And now I'm like, I'm just going to share what I want to share, and
Yeah.
it's not nearly as much as I was sharing before. But I think that's just such good advice without you actually not being advice that you're giving, but people should take that,
Yeah.
and just like post what you feel called to post, and just be
Yeah.
yourself and be genuine. And then honestly, by doing that, if you're posting, I think there is an aspect where like you have to have a creative mind
Yeah.
to make something look good. But if you're going to post who Max Geyer is,
Yeah.
and it looks good, and you're posting consistently who you are, and people start following, it makes it a whole lot easier to not have to feel like you have to constantly create, okay, well, what will be good next? It's like, I'm just filming what I'm up
Yeah.
to and what I'm doing and how I'm feeling and what my beliefs are, and people are following it if they're going to follow it. And I think that's just an important mindset to have, and it's just going to make you feel so much more comfortable, and probably prevent a lot less burnout
Yeah.
as
Definitely. Yeah.
well when it comes to social media. So last thing on like social stuff, but talk about, like, you talked about, you took like a month off
Mhm.
from posting. So how has burnout looked like on your end when it comes to posting on social media? If anything, I mean, even if it was like that month, like, how has that felt? Or maybe the pressure to post content even.
I think since it's grown more, and since like I am now working with different brands and stuff, now I don't really have the luxury of kind of just being like, post when you want to post. Now I have more obligations, I guess. And so I think, for I'll be honest, right now, a lot of most of the stuff I post has been running and stuff. I think one of the ways I'm trying to right now figure out, preventing burnout in it, is just kind of broadening my scope on social media, my niche on there. And I feel like I need to be cautious saying that, so people aren't like, oh, we gotta ditch him. He's
No.
he's whatever. But I think, yeah, like I said before, I think that God wants to use it for something, and running isn't. That's not running.
That's not the only
Right.
thing.
That's not the only thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so like you said, just, if you're posting about the things that you care about, that you're passionate about, um, one thing, your audience is going to see that, and they're going to be able to tell, oh, this is what he cares about. This is not what he feels like he needs to care about, whatever. Um, so I'm trying to just tap into more of that. Trying to share more aspects of my life, more aspects of wellness steps I take in my life, things like that. Um, but also just, I'm selective about, what brands I do work with, and what kind of responsibilities a relationship with a brand might entail. I'm also, again, still working full-time job. So just trying to be, just trying to set boundaries for myself and that too. And then always kind of just, humbling myself back down and being like, remember, Max, you're not doing this to become, a huge social media celebrity. You're doing this because God is obviously using it for something.
Hmm.
Um, and so I feel like that's, again, another not answer, but it's all still new and something I'm still figuring out. Um, But as long as I feel like, as I'm in this, I feel like right now I'm in a very content place, and I think I'll feel whenever that shifts.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say.
Yeah. Well, that's good, man. And it's good to have those boundaries. And it's not, I
Mhm.
mean, you're aware of it, which is good.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times it's easy for people. Like, I know a lot of people, some people personally, that I have seen, they've gotten so sucked in and consumed by the, like, the influencing and social media obligations, and it looks and I was like, gosh, I would feel so overwhelmed. So I think it's good that you already are aware. You're like, I'm anticipating that maybe it comes to this point
Yeah.
one day, which is good. And it's good for like not only like people care about their image so much on social media, but it's more importantly, it's like it's important for you to like feel I'm at a good place with my mental state, physical state, my values, who I'm working with, etc. So that's good. No, that was great. And I think that gets washed really easily when people think about social media. They just want to people imagine like, oh, I'm going to take this brand deal and this brand deal and this brand deal. It's like, man, you think that, and then you get to a point where it's like, okay, let me make sure that I'm good with all of this, So that's good. No, that was great. And then
you say so.
No, that was great. You underestimate yourself way too much, Max. Way too much.
I'm like, I need to shut up.
No, you underestimate yourself way too much. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing that, because I'm always curious of it too. And again, I think we're always our own biggest critic. So that's something to always remember too, as you're going through this journey, because it's very new to you and you're young. So no, you're doing amazing, man. In that space, and it's really cool to watch it all unfold. And then as we kind of wrap up, it doesn't feel like it. We've been talking for an hour. It doesn't feel like it, does it? It feels like it's been 20 minutes, but we're both just rambling on together here. But lastly, we got to know what is next when it comes to running. Everybody wants to know, man. Everybody's chomping at the bit. Let us know, man. Let us know. But yeah, I would love to hear what your if there's any races that are like multiple that are planned or whatever's upcoming next.
So yeah, I am running Boston. So that race in Eugene that qualified me for Boston this year. So in April I'll be running that. So that's my next big thing. And it doesn't feel real. Like I'm just saying that it's in a couple weeks now. I feel, really.
What's the day? April
20th.
20th. Okay, cool.
So that's I feel like I feel almost imposter syndrome. Like I haven't been running long enough to like appreciate what this is and stuff, but I am very excited for it. That's next. I'm running Chicago again in October. I'm doing that with Shriners again as well.
So talk a little bit about that too.
Okay, yeah. So I ran Chicago last year with Shriners as well. And so the cool thing about that whole ordeal is that I mentioned, being born with a tethered spinal cord and how my parents were able to, we got surgery to fix that. What's really cool is that Shriners Children's Hospital, they're the organization that performed that surgery. And even cooler is that, so I got my surgery in Lexington, and it was at zero cost to my family.
Crazy.
Which is wild.
Gosh, that just made cold chills, man. That's wild.
It's crazy. And again, like, my parents were fully prepared to take on like the financial responsibility of, that something like that. But yeah, like Shriners, they completely took away that burden, and they had, like they're the best of the best, at specifically like that kind of surgery too. And so it's just a crazy full circle moment that, they happen to also be, the primary sponsor of, Chicago, or one of them. And so getting to run with them is such a cool, like full circle moment of just, it really was their care and stuff that has allowed me to pursue this active lifestyle that I have now. And so, yeah, I'm really grateful for them and really excited and honored to get to represent them in the race.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. It's like you're giving back to them in a way, and by like representing them and just like wearing them proudly across your chest or however you're going to represent them. But that's awesome, man. So Boston Marathon, Chicago Marathon, April and October, lots of training in between.
Last year, it'll be 5 marathons in the span of a year.
Okay.
With Boston. Yeah. And I think I'm trying to, again, part of that, like preventing burnout, I'm trying to dial things down. But yeah, so that's what's kind of lined up right now.
Nice. Well, that is awesome, man. Well, Max, I appreciate you, man. There's so many other things I like have on my notes that I want to talk through, but so that means we're going to have to do episode 2.
I guess
Max Geyer, volume 2. We're going to make it happen. But yeah, thanks for coming on, man. I seriously, I appreciate you. And I admire your story and your perspective, and even though you're younger, I look up to a lot of the things that you do and the mindset that you have. So thanks for coming on. And hopefully if you're listening to this, you can get some good perspective or get fired up and get out and hit the road and get a run in or something after listening to Max talk. So if you're watching live here on YouTube, we appreciate you. And when you listen to the audio version when it drops, we appreciate you. And we'll catch you next week.